The person who knows exactly what breaks, what costs a fortune to fix, and what leaves you stranded on the side of the road at midnight, that person is a mechanic. And when a mechanic reaches into their own pocket and buys a specific SUV for their own wife, their own kids, their own family, that is the most honest product review that exists on this planet. No sponsorship, no incentive, just someone who has seen engines fail, transmissions explode, and electrical systems turn into expensive nightmares, making a cold, calculated decision with their own money. So when 3 specific SUVs keep showing up in mechanics' driveways across the country in 2026, you pay attention. These aren't the SUVs with the flashiest ads or the prettiest interior photos. These are the ones that the people who actually fix cars refuse to buy anything else. Today, you're getting the inside information that most car buyers never access. Most people buy SUVs based on the dashboard tech. Mechanics buy them based on the drivetrain. If you value 300,000 miles over a massive touchscreen, drop a like. These are the 3 SUVs we quietly buy for our own families because we know exactly what's under the hood. Before the first SUV, you need to understand one thing that changes how you look at the entire market. Now, I'm not going to just give you a list and send you to Craigslist. To buy like a mechanic, you have to think like one. And it starts with this. There is a fundamental difference between an SUV built on a truck frame and an SUV built like a tall car. Most people have no idea this distinction exists. They walk into a dealership, they sit in something comfortable, they like the color, and they sign the papers. Mechanics don't do that. A body-on-frame SUV, where the body sits on top of a separate steel ladder frame, is built the way trucks are built. The suspension components are bigger, the drivetrain is more mechanical and less electronic. When something breaks, you can actually get to it. Parts are predictable. Repairs are straightforward. A unibody crossover where the body and frame are one piece is lighter, more fuel efficient, and smoother on the highway. But it's also more complex to repair, less forgiving under serious stress, and often more expensive when something goes wrong. Every single SUV on this list is body on frame. That is not a coincidence. That is the entire point. SUV number 3, 2026 Toyota 4Runner. This SUV should not exist in 2026, not because it's bad, because it's almost too honest for the modern market. Every other manufacturer looked at the SUV buyer and said, give them a crossover with SUV styling, softer ride, better gas mileage, lower cost to build. Toyota looked at that same buyer and said, no. The 4Runner stayed body on frame when everything else moved on. It kept mechanical 4-wheel drive when everyone else went electronic. It kept a proper solid rear axle on off-road trims when the industry abandoned it completely, and mechanics noticed. The 2026 4Runner runs the 2.4-liter turbocharged iForce engine producing around 278 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. The hybrid version, the iForce Max, pushes that to 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet. That torque number matters. That's the kind of low-end pulling power that makes towing, hauling, and getting out of difficult situations feel effortless rather than stressful. The transmission is an 8-speed automatic, not a CVT. Mechanics specifically appreciate this. CVTs are economical to manufacture and smooth to drive, but they are not what you want under heavy load, in extreme heat, or when you're asking an SUV to actually work. The 8-speed automatic in the 4Runner is a proper transmission backed by Toyota's history of building drivetrains that survive conditions that would end other vehicles. The TNGA-F ladder frame platform is shared directly with Toyota trucks. When you're driving a 4Runner, you're driving something built from the same mechanical DNA as one of the best-selling and most reliable truck lines in the world. That's not marketing language. That's the actual engineering reality. Specialized trims like the TRD Pro and Trail Hunter come with Old Man Emu shocks from the factory. A professional mechanic seeing Old Man Emu on a production vehicle is like a chef seeing professional-grade knives in a home kitchen. It tells you the people who built this took the job seriously. Crawl control, multi-terrain select, stabilizer bar disconnect on specific trims, skid plates, a high-mount air intake. These are not features for people who occasionally drive on gravel. These are features for people who need the SUV to perform when conditions stop being comfortable. Towing capacity sits around 6,000 pounds properly equipped. Here's the real mechanic logic behind the 4Runner purchase. When a technician buys this for their family, they are buying something they will almost never have to bring into a shop for anything serious. The architecture is proven. The parts are everywhere. The repair procedures are documented across decades of production. There is no mystery under the hood. And that, for someone who spends their working life dealing with other people's automotive mysteries, is genuinely priceless. SUV number 2, 2026 Lexus GX 550. Most people look at the Lexus GX and see a luxury SUV. Mechanics look at the Lexus GX and see a Toyota with better seats. That is meant as a compliment. The GX 550 runs on Toyota's GAF body-on-frame platform, the same structural foundation as Toyota's heavy-duty truck lineup, engineered specifically for rigidity under load and long-term durability. The engine is a 3.4-liter twin-turbocharged V6, producing 349 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque, 10-speed automatic transmission, full-time four-wheel drive with locking capability. These are truck numbers wrapped in a cabin that costs more per square foot than most apartments. Now here's where the conversation gets interesting. European luxury SUVs at this price point almost always come with air suspension, adaptive dampers, complex electronic systems that deliver an exceptional ride quality for the first 60,000 miles, and then present you with repair estimates that make you genuinely question your life decisions. The GX 550 doesn't do that. The suspension setup is mechanically straightforward, designed the way a technician would design it if they were building something for their own use. The components are accessible. The technology is modern without being unnecessarily complicated. The four-wheel drive system is mechanical at its core rather than purely electronic, which means it functions reliably in conditions where purely electronic systems sometimes hesitate. What mechanics understand that most buyers don't: reliability and luxury are not the same category. You can have an extremely luxurious vehicle that is completely unreliable, and you can have an extremely reliable vehicle that happens to be luxurious. The GX 550 is the second thing. The premium interior, the refined driving experience, the technology inside the cabin, all of that is layered on top of a foundation that was built to last rather than built to impress on a test drive. For a mechanic with a family, this is the calculation. They're not choosing between reliability and comfort. They're getting both, because Toyota engineered the platform and Lexus handled everything else. One honest note: always check VIN-specific recall status before purchasing any vehicle. Toyota has addressed various items across their lineup in recent production cycles, and verifying your specific vehicle is clean before purchase is basic responsible ownership. It takes 5 minutes, and it matters. SUV number 1, 2026 Toyota Sequoia. Everything on this list has been building toward this. The Sequoia is what happens when Toyota takes the mechanical philosophy behind the 4Runner and the GX 550 and scales it into something that can genuinely do everything a large American family might ever need an SUV to do. Standard powertrain is the iForce Max twin-turbocharged V6 hybrid, 437 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque, 10-speed automatic, body-on-frame ladder architecture. Towing capacity reaches around 9,500 pounds depending on trim and configuration. Read those numbers again. 583 pound-feet of torque. That is not a number that requires you to work hard to move things. That torque arrives low in the rev range, which means whether you're pulling a boat, loading gear, merging onto a highway with a trailer behind you, or just navigating a situation that requires the SUV to actually perform, the Sequoia responds without drama. The hybrid setup here is worth explaining properly because most people misunderstand how it works. Toyota didn't take a regular engine and bolt a small electric motor to it as an afterthought. The electric motor is integrated directly in series with the engine and transmission. The electric power handles the low-end demands, the torque requirements that stress gasoline engines most. The gasoline engine operates in a more efficient range because the electric motor handles the heavy lifting when it's most needed. The result is that the gasoline engine lives a less stressful life, which directly translates to long-term durability. For mechanics, this hybrid layout makes complete sense. It's not hybrid technology as a fuel economy gimmick. It's hybrid technology as an engineering solution that makes the drivetrain more capable and less stressed simultaneously. That's a match that earns genuine respect from people who understand powertrains. The platform is GAF, the same ladder frame architecture shared across Toyota's serious truck-based lineup. At full size, this means you're sitting on one of the most structurally robust foundations available in a family SUV. Parts availability across this platform is exceptional. Mechanics across the country know these components. Service intervals are straightforward. There are no exotic proprietary systems that require specialist equipment to diagnose. When a mechanic buys the Sequoia for their family, they're buying the knowledge that this vehicle will absorb everything family life throws at it: road trips, towing, years of daily use, weather, mileage, and keep performing without becoming a financial problem. That peace of mind is what they're actually purchasing. The 5083 pound-feet and the 9,000 pound tow rating are just proof that the engineering is serious. The cheat sheet before you go. 3 body-on-frame SUVs. 3 vehicles built on mechanical foundations that mechanics trust enough to put their own families inside. The 4Runner for rugged dependability and proven off-road capability. The GX 550 for everything the 4Runner offers with a significantly more refined daily experience. The Sequoia when you need full-size capability without sacrificing the reliability that makes the other two worth buying. The common thread is the platform. TNGA-F and GAF ladder frame architecture. Truck-derived, proven across millions of global sales. Straightforward to service. Built for duration rather than just first impressions. What the mechanic knows that the average buyer misses, the purchase price is only part of the equation. The 5-year cost of ownership, the repair frequency, the parts availability, the complexity of the systems when something eventually does need attention, that's the full picture. And across all 3 of these SUVs, that full picture is why the people who fix cars choose them for their own driveways. If this gave you information you couldn't find anywhere else, subscribe. There are 2 more videos on this channel right now covering exactly the kind of inside market knowledge most buyers never get access to. The videos are on screen. Click either one. I'll see you there.